Anybody who started a B2B company knows how hard it is to grow. Whether you're starting a small lawn mowing company, going to different office buildings and mowing their grass, or selling $100,000 a month enterprise SaaS, I'm sure you understand how difficult it is to get people to buy in on your product. So in this video, I wanted to go through some general advice I have in overcoming that difficulty. The first point I kind of want to make is that getting clients for your B2B business is simply getting way harder. And this can apply to most industries, but I'd say it's most particularly the case in SaaS. People are getting SaaS burnout really fast, and they really don't feel like getting just another software that they're going to have to pay monthly, a ton of money for, and maybe provides pretty marginal value. Even if your SaaS is great, the odds people buy it are significantly lower now just because of the wide variety of options available. And this is also the case with pretty much any other business. I think as the market gets more and more saturated for B2B businesses, because they were perceived as boring in the past, but now people understand how much they can make, it's getting harder to acquire clients. So I wanted to talk particularly in this case about outbound, why so many businesses are failing at this right now. The first reason is that 90% of businesses are absolutely trash at outbound marketing as a whole. They don't really know that they're bad until they've spent thousands of dollars and months on end testing it out. Because outbound is so subjective and varies so differently across industries and price points, it's really hard to define whether you're actually going to do a good job the first time. I see emails that seem like essays. I see people not having a call script on their cold calls. So how do you actually improve it? You have to think of client acquisition as pretty much a relationship building activity, one that requires a lot of balance and a lot of value add upfront. When trying to pretty much get anything out of anybody that doesn't know you, it of course requires a lot of work, a lot of differentiated value to get their attention. When a lot of people start their B2B business, they think they're going to reach out to a few people and they're immediately going to be like, oh, this is awesome, let me give it a try. Even if they think it's like 100 or 200 people that they have to reach out to, the numbers that they're working with are so much smaller than what reality would say is the case. For example, if you're doing a cold email campaign, the average positive response rate for a good campaign is 1 in 350 emails. Some people reach out to 100 or 200 people and expect a positive response, and you might get one, but the odds are so much lower. So it's better to reframe your thinking. After reframing your thinking, 2 people that I would hire immediately within a business to improve your odds of getting more clients are A, a great copywriter or a great salesperson in general, and B, a trusted technical implementation manager, somebody who can set up the tools and the processes required to have a concerted outbound motion. If you can get the creative copywriter and salesperson and the implementation manager to work together and create a cohesive sales unit, you have a very high chance of closing those sort of things. Let's say you can't afford those 2 people. I would recommend finding tools like Clay, Orem, SmartLead, HeyReach, LawGrowth Machine, and becoming very familiar with how they work and how they connect and setting up an outbound system to yourself. With regards to copywriting, I would use a tool like Twain to write outbound copy for you, given the prompt and given the background you feed it, and use that copy to then plug into something like Clay and LawGrowth Machine and SmartLead and send messages that way. Moving further down the funnel, not only is top of funnel acquisition difficult, but actually closing clients on the thing that you're selling. Establishing differentiated value is really hard to do in a lot of industries. For example, insurance or mowing lawns or washing the windows of office buildings, it's really hard to stand out and have kind of a differential. So in order to overcome that hurdle, I would think to myself, what is the highest value thing I can give away in exchange for somebody hiring me for my services? What can I give them on top of the thing I'm already giving them? Any B2B business knows that lifetime value is really the name of the game. So even if you have to do something once for free, if they hire you to do it every other month for the next 5 years, it could be worth doing it once for free. So moving on to the second tenet, I wanted to talk about your product or service in general. This is a pretty massive generalized statement, but I will say for the most part that your product almost always isn't as great as you think it is. And what I mean by this is when people create a product, they spend hours, days, months, weeks, years on building their baby. It's really hard to dissociate your emotions and how you feel about how amazing the product is with reality. On top of that, people just probably won't be that interested in your product up front, not because it's bad, not because it's not effective, not because it doesn't provide value, but because the amount of choices that a person has on a daily basis for purchasing is pretty much endless. When you're going to make your product, you have to set your expectations significantly lower for the impact of your product because it'll help you build something better. If you think your product's great, then you're probably not going to edit it or try to improve it as much as if you thought your product sucked. So try to think about it from a consumer perspective. What would make the product so unbelievably good that it's impossible to ignore, and have you done that yet? If no, then you probably haven't created a product that people are actually going to be excited about. The third and final tenet I wanted to talk about is that there's very often a difference between your perceived value prop and why people actually like your product. Pretty much anything that you sell has more than one value proposition. For example, Clay is a sales automation tool, but they also have incredible enrichment capabilities. They have incredible automation capabilities outside of sales, and you don't really understand what value prop people actually care about until you go and test it. So an exercise I'd recommend thinking about when trying to acquire new clients for your B2B business is what other other value propositions does my product potentially fit? And how can I frame those as a selling point to prospects that I'm reaching out to? This is important for a few reasons. The first one is that you can close more customers with more value propositions and a better understanding of which ones they care about. But secondly, it allows you to help retain those customers. If you have several value props, the friction is a lot higher for them to drop it. For example, tools like Clay do a variety of things. They help find leads, they help enrich leads, they help connect those enriched leads to an outbound system. If you want any of those things done, you're probably going to have to stay on the product, thus increasing their retention. So honestly, just try to find the difference between your perceived value proposition and why people actually like your product, and change your offer accordingly. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope that some of this advice was at least relatively useful for you. Happy prospecting.